We're going to talk about one of the most famous, and let's be real, one of the weirdest opening scenes in all of literature. I'm talking about the first scene of Shakespeare's Macbeth. You know the one. It's short, it's super spooky, and it basically sets the stage for this massive tragedy. So let's unravel this whole witchy opening.
Right off the bat, these are the first words an audience hears. Not once upon a time, but this strange contradictory chant. Shakespeare immediately throws us off balance. Fair is foul, good is bad, up is down. Nothing is what it seems. It's a giant flashing sign that the world we're about to step into is twisted and totally upside down.
So that really is the big question, isn't it? This isn't just some cheap jump scare to get our attention. Shakespeare was a master craftsman. Every single choice he made was deliberate. This opening is actually a carefully constructed puzzle. And to solve it, we need to look beyond the page itself.
To really get why Shakespeare put witches front and center, we've got to ask, who was he writing this for? Because as it turns out, there was a very, very important person in the audience with a pretty intense personal obsession with this exact topic.
So, picture this. It's around 1606. Macbeth is likely being performed for the first time, and who's in the audience? The newly crowned King of England, James I. And King James wasn't just a casual believer in ghosts and ghouls. No, he was deeply, publicly, and you might even say paranoidly obsessed with the threat of witches.
And this timeline just shows how personal this was for him. Back in 1589, he completely blamed witches for a storm that almost killed his wife. For him, this wasn't a metaphor, it was real life. That event led directly to the infamous North Berwick witch trials, where he personally oversaw the interrogations. He then went on to write his own book about it. So you can imagine, when Shakespeare opens his new play with 3 witches plotting in the middle of a storm, he knew exactly who he was talking to. And demonology wasn't some little pamphlet he dashed off. This was the King of England's official guide on why witches were real, how you find them, and why they needed to be, completely wiped out. So for the audience back in 1606, witches weren't just campfire stories. They were a terrifying and politically charged topic coming straight from the top. Okay, so catering to the king? That's a brilliant political move. But Shakespeare was an artist, first and foremost. He didn't just plop some witches on stage. He used every single tool in his literary toolbox to make them as creepy and as unnatural as possible. The very first tool he grabs is something called pathetic fallacy. It sounds complicated, but it's a simple and incredibly powerful idea. The weather on stage mirrors the chaos in the story. It's not just raining. The world itself is upset. And we see it right there in the very first line. The witches don't plan to meet up on a sunny afternoon for a picnic. No, they meet in thunder, lightning, or in rain. This violent weather isn't just there to set a spooky mood. It's literally foreshadowing the violent, unnatural storm of murder and ambition that these witches are about to unleash on Scotland. But Shakespeare, being Shakespeare, goes even deeper. It's not just the setting that's unnatural. He makes the witches sound fundamentally different from every other character in the entire play, and he does this with poetic meter. Okay, this is where it gets really cool. So most of the nobles in the play, they speak in what's called iambic pentameter. It has an unstressed, stressed beat, like a heartbeat. Da-dum, da-dum. So foul and fair a day I have not seen. It feels natural, right? But the witches, they speak in trochaic tetrameter, which is the complete opposite. Stressed, unstressed. Dum-da, dum-da. Double, double, toil and trouble. It instantly sounds like a creepy, unsettling chant. It's an auditory signal from Shakespeare that these beings are not from our world. All right, so we've got the political angle with King James, and we've got the literary craft with the weather and the rhythm. When you put all of that together, you start to realize this short, strange little scene is doing an incredible amount of work. I mean, this scene is a masterclass in efficiency. In just a handful of lines, Shakespeare manages to flatter his king, set a dark and violent tone for the whole play, foreshadow all the moral chaos to come with that fair is foul line, and introduce the central theme: you can't trust what you see. It's the perfect foundation for a tragedy about a good man who becomes an absolute monster. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The play opens by telling us the rules of this world are that good can be evil and evil can seem good. So if that's the first thing we learn, what does that tell us about the journey of a man who we first meet as a fair and noble hero, Macbeth himself? Well, the answer to that? That's the entire tragedy.